Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, in the garage. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. Gary's walked in with a glass of wine.
Cheers.
They both have a glass of wine.
They twisted my arm.
Oh, I did no such thing.
It's sociable.
It's sociable, absolutely. Anyway, welcome to the garage and the court of public opinion. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux, and I hope you're well. I hope you've had a good week. Oh, my God, this election. It's more like a spend-a-thon or some sort of strange auction. Each side is looking for a knockout punch. These new ideas, initiatives that come along with an election, with the Liberal and Labor Party campaign launches, the Libs in Sydney, Labor in Perth. It's funny, so far into a campaign, they're having a launch. Anyway, in the battle of ideas, which of course it should be, it's really the battle of the launch. The Libs have definitely won, I think anyway, with the reintroduction, I underline, reintroduction of the $1,200 middle income tax offset, which was abolished by Labor, the $30,000 instant tax write-off for small business, which was abolished by Labor, reduced immigration, and the deregistration of the CFMEU. An end to classroom indoctrination. God knows how Dutton's going to do that. How the hell are you going to do that, Peter?
I don't know, but I hope he can.
I hope he can too. But the knockout for me was the tax deductibility of mortgage interest rates, which, by the way, is quite common in other parts of the world. The interest paid on your mortgage in the United States has been deductible forever. And I've been advocating for a long time that the inflation rate should be tax deductible as well. That would keep the government on the job. Whoa! Clearly, housing is perceived by everybody as the main issue here, but they're both ignoring the elephant in the room. 47%, almost half the cost of a new house, is tax. Federal, state, and local government taxes. They could fix that in a heartbeat. But here's an interesting one. Labor says that it will enter the market as a builder. Wow! To build cheaper homes. Ladies and gentlemen, that's ridiculous. Firstly, everything government touches, is always more expensive. But importantly, with the close relationship they have with the CFMEU, you're guaranteed nothing will be built on budget or on time. In fact, the Labor slogan, you see it everywhere, in all their advertising, backdrop and whatnot, building Australia's future. Yeah, building Australia's future. If you're thinking of doing that, fellas, with the CFMEU, who own you, by the way, well, you would have known that, which means you're owned by the bikies, God help you. God help you. How can you take $7 million from criminals without being regarded as a criminal? Or living off immoral earnings or something? By the way, Labor's already established $10 billion Future Housing Investment Fund has not built one single home. Why? Why? The other problem is that neither party seems to be concerned about the huge debt that they're committing us to in the future, going on for millennia, with all of this spending, all of these election promises. There's no doubt that the Labor Party is much, much better at presenting a campaign launch. Stage management. I spent a lot of years in television. I can tell you, I know it when I see it. Great stage management, lighting, choreography, gloss technique. The ABC, responsible for the telecast and the broadcast for both speeches, both parties, once again, on Sunday, this one just gone by, demonstrated their bias. In every way, Labor shone. From lighting to sound, to the auto cue, the camera, the angles. The ABC is again an unabashed promoter of the left, which of course can and will, if they're elected, devastate the country. The left, I mean. I hope if Dutton is elected, he has the courage to put a broom through the ABC by appointing a moderate, fair-minded, impartial, non-political director. Now, I've struggled, and I mean it, I've struggled with this. Why am I so adamant that this is a bad government, the Albanese government? Well, here we go. Stay with me on this. This Labor government is changing our country by stealth. They didn't have the right. For example, they just introduced 3 flags, no discussion, didn't ask us, didn't ask anyone. They have a certain vision. It's one that I don't agree with. You might, I don't know. But it's a free country, a democracy. First, the leadership of the Labor Party, current leadership, is from the socialist left of the Labor Party. I can't imagine how anyone could be possibly on the left of the Labor Party. But they're hypocrites, they love the good life, and they ask us to pay for it. And boy, do they enjoy it. They want to aboriginalise the entire country. 3% of the population should not be, pick my words carefully, full frame, if I could put it that way, to use a photographic expression. Keep things in proportion, 3% of the population. Then there's the NDIS, the out-of-control NDIS. No other country in the world has anything like the NDIS. You might ask yourself why. And if you don't believe the social engineering undertaken by this government, do me a favour. Just Google a simple question. Here it is. Let me give it to you. Did the explosion in the number of disabled people coincide with the establishment of the NDIS? Well, if you Google that, you'll see, as I saw, the answer is clearly, overwhelmingly yes. People didn't discover they were disabled until the NDIS popped up. Is there any government stupid enough to have done that with no checks and balances, no means test? And that same government doesn't know and thinks that we are too stupid to notice. It was just a wonderful idea to continue the Labor Party's ambition to get as many people as possible onto welfare for any reason whatsoever. Is that the sort of country you want for your children and your grandchildren to inherit? When, ladies and gentlemen, we could be creating a meritocracy where people are encouraged to work, achieve, succeed, be independent and successful, rewarded. These are some of the reasons why I hate socialism, apart from the very simple fact that it doesn't work. It doesn't encourage that wonderful fire in the belly thing, the idealistic desire to achieve, which is what not only drives the individual, it drives the community and the country to achieve its potential. But what I was thinking when I was putting all of this through my head, why should this government get the boot on the 3rd of next month, 3rd of May? Mind you, the opposition, this is the sort of thing the opposition should be saying and doing. But anyway, be that as it may. I don't write their stuff. They don't influence my stuff. Why should they get the boot? Well, yes, there is the cost of living. Yes, everything basically costs 30% more since Labor came to power. That's pretty damning. But there's the 3 flags, welcome to country, the NDIS, which has the potential to send the country broke without checks and balances. Then there's Jim Chalmers and Jim Chalmers and Jim Chalmers. Listen, keep in mind that Jim Chalmers, the Treasurer, is not, Dr. Jim Chalmers is not a doctor of economics. His doctorate is in, believe it or not, the life and times of Paul Keating. Now that would make for interesting reading, if anyone has ever read it. Particularly that chapter on the recession we had to have. I remember that very well. I was in business with 22% interest on a business loan at the time. Other reasons? Well, there's the renewables policy. That promise that didn't deliver. Oh, expensive electricity. Yes, it delivered that all right. That's true. A descending standard of living. Woke and waste everywhere. And importantly, a failure to understand all of the above. They're on a different planet. I don't get it. Looking at the Labor Party ads for the coming election, I'm sorry this whole program is going to be about the election, but I reckon there's nothing more important. Nothing should be more important on our minds. They seem to base everything on what they have given, you know, giveaways, handouts. They have nothing to give, remember this, apart from that which they take from us in the first place. Medical centres, Medicare, welfare, one kind or another, the old socialist mentality. Pork barrelling is as old as politics. And they all do it. Irresponsibly, they all do it. I would ask Anthony Albanese and Peter Dutton to remember the words of John F. Kennedy, who was a moderate, left-wing, democratic president of the United States. When he said, "Think not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." Australians don't stand up there in front of a politician and say, "What's in it for me?" That's not us. I think it's what you are, though. Anyway, Kennedy's words were inspired words. It's not about the freeloaders. Our future, if Anthony Albanese is interested, is in building a country based on encouragement, reward and incentive. to get people to create the future, and we can. A great pool of talent and ability which can build our nation and our future. Albo, please do not underestimate your fellow Australian. It's not about handouts and freebies. If it was, I'd be on the next boat. It's not about welfare. It's about enterprise, encouragement and achievement. And there's the Labor slogan, "We're building Australia." That's in their ads, on their backdrops for all their presentations. You can't build a country on handouts. Hard work is the only way to build a country. You have to inspire if you want to lead. Albo says, under the libs, everything's going to be more expensive. Straight-faced, he says it over and over and over again. Well, we don't know. We're not fortune tellers. But under Labor, we do know. In the last 3 years, Labor, since Albo was elected, everything has become more and more expensive, mostly because of the alternatives, the expensive electricity caused by the alternatives policy. It's alarming. But the fall in our standard of living has led the developed.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
World. And that's not only alarming, it's unacceptable. They have a hide, really, to want a second go. But I guess there's no harm in asking. They're asking us to simply forget the lived experience of living under Labor for the last 3 years. And by the way, according to the ABC, electricity is far cheaper when produced by renewables. Okay, then why isn't it? Straight out of the Labor Party playbook. It's a lie. The truth of the matter is it isn't cheaper. In the last 3 years, as I've told you, my bill has gone from $1,600 a quarter to nearly $5,000 a quarter. Albanese's cheap renewables is a fraud. It's a lie, and he gets away with it because people don't question him, don't pull him up. I don't know where the journalistic rigour is, but I don't see it. I really don't. And just to tell you how mad the Greens are, Adam Bandt, leader of the Greens, addressing the press club on Wednesday last week, advocated that we cut all ties, and these are the people who are aspiring to form a coalition government with Labor, and if they do that, this guy's going to call the tune. He's advocating that we cut all ties, defence and otherwise, with the United States of America, which would, I don't know, it could be suicidal. Dangerous and suicidal. And he seriously wants your vote. A coalition of Labor and the Greens would be shocking, devastating, terrible consequences for the economy and the defence of this great country. Bandt says Trump is dangerous. Well, sir, I say to you, you are more dangerous, Mr. Bandt. We are here with our wonderful sponsors, the best wishes of the Rising Sun at 60 Bridge Street at Kensington. You can call Grant or Jackie. They're usually there. Lunch and dinner, 8333-0721. The Rising Sun Inn, regularly chosen as the best pub or inn in South Australia. There are a lot of pubs and inns in South Australia. That is a wonderful accolade. Having been built in 1845, this is a big year for them. And our other sponsor, Jim Elder Fine Art Gallery in Melbourne Street, North Adelaide, he's just waiting for this election to be over. Once the election is over, he'll have his first auction of the year, which will be a big one. I think he's been saving up some goodies for it. 106 to 110 Melbourne Street, North Adelaide. Two beautiful old buildings. You can talk to Jim or his lovely wife Helen on 8 267-2869. They're inviting people to submit notable paintings for this first auction. Now, I better not really say that too firmly because probably the catalogue's been printed and everything is already hung on the walls. I'm not sure. But he has 4 auctions a year. So anyway, if you've got a painting that you're not really knowledgeable about or you have curiosity about, he will give you an appraisal free of charge, and if you want to sell it, he's the man. This related to the election, because the Labour Party's owned by the trade union movement. I found something the other day which got me thinking. Even though the trade union membership numbers have fallen massively to only 13% of the entire workforce, and that's the figure that I've got here from the 2022 Menzies Research Centre investigation. They point out that the union movement has transformed itself into a financial powerhouse. Very small base to have a powerhouse. Unions have experienced an extraordinary rise in both wealth and political influence. Union profits have been directed to fund the political campaigns of the Australian Labor Party in return for policy concessions from Labor governments to help further entrench the commanding financial position of the unions. Power. And the industry superannuation funds have helped along that way, I can tell you. Recent policy changes, such as the introduction of collective bargaining, the crackdown on casual employment, that is to say they don't like to have people being independent contractors. I love independent contractors. It's called freedom. Their objection is presented under the guise of protecting the workers, yet their ultimate goal is growing union coffers. Workers have clearly voted with their feet. Private sector union membership has fallen from 66% of the workforce in 1990 to 8%. 8%, ladies and gentlemen, in 2022. Hardly a mandate. However, the power brokers at the top of the unions and at the top of the Labour Party have built a formidable business model which entrench a small circle of, well, a small circle of very powerful people. This is the elite game of mates at the centre of Australia's political economy. This is why we see unions shifting their focus from workplace issues to campaign on social and political issues. A movement which once provided a much-needed voice for the people, the worker. The movement that was born of factory workers and manual labourers is now focusing on amplifying the concerns of a highly educated cultural elite. And in recent years, unions have spent nearly $100 million of their members' money on political campaigning, directing millions of dollars to the Labour Party, of course. These campaigns frequently address social and political issues such as same-sex marriage, the yes vote, the Indigenous rights and land rights. Nothing related to the worker or his or her rights or workplace conditions. Australian unions are even actively campaigning for boycotts and sanctions over Israel. It's none of their bloody business. It's amazing. Nobody tells them. Their focus continues to shift away from workers' rights and conditions to amassing wealth and power. They have become the very thing they were put in place to fight. Wealth and power, which is used to engineer social change. These organisations once fought the excesses of the top end of town. are now firmly securing their own wealth and power and privilege. I have no idea who David Hughes is, but he was the one who was being quoted by the Menzies research people. David Hughes, I've got to find out more about him. But I thank David and the Menzies Research Centre. I think they're bloody well onto something here. Pete, am I out of time?
Well, yeah, a little bit more.
A bit more?
A bit more.
You're so understanding.
Well, you're on fire. It's good.
Well, I came across this in Melbourne, an interesting move. LGBTIQ pedestrian crossings. Ever heard of such a thing? No, they're there in Melbourne. Gays and lesbians cross the road like everybody else crosses the road. Why do they need a special crossing? A street crossing is a pedestrian courtesy. It's not a protest. Rainbow crossings, surely. Are these rainbow crossings exclusively or supposed to be exclusively for gay people? Anyway, I don't know what the protest is about. Road safety is for everyone. Again, gay people, I would suggest, like Aboriginal people, are being weaponised and used, I suspect. Be careful. Anyway, I do wish you a happy birthday if you're having a happy birthday. I keep on losing my glasses and end up with ones that I had 20 years ago. Happy birthday, happy wedding anniversary. I hope it's been a very nice day. It's April the 15th. What have we got here? Before I leave you, let me tell you that on this day, the first sound on film public performance was shown at the Rialto Theatre in New York City. April 15, 1923. And you know, there were people who didn't like the idea of introducing sound, didn't like the idea of the talkies. First one, I think, was called, does anybody remember? I think it was the jazz singer. I think it was the jazz singer. But there were people who said, we don't need the sound. We're quite used to silent movies. Leonardo da Vinci, Italian painter, sculptor, scientist, visionary, was born in Florence. He died 1519, but born this day in 1452. Happy birthday, Leonardo. Paris, Cathedral, Notre Dame, catches fire. Oh, God, did you see that on television? Notre Dame burnt to the ground, toppling its spire and destroying its roof. 2019, on this day, 1877, the world's first home telephone was installed in Somerville, Massachusetts, at the house of Charles Williams Jr. The world's first home telephone was installed. He must have had a quid. He must, maybe he had the telephone company. I don't know. No idea. But how about that for a trivia question? 1877, the year this today. Ray Kroc opens his first McDonald's fast food restaurant in Des Plaines, Illinois. I don't know. Desplaines. How do you say that?
Des Plaines.
Des Plaines?
Uh-huh.
I know there's Des Moines.
Yeah.
Des Plaines. Des Plaines. Okay. It's like the plane. The plane. Anyway, that was this day, 1955. Dear old Ray Kroc. Dodi Fayed, Egyptian businessman who died in a car crash in Paris with Diana, Princess of Wales, born in Egypt, died 1997, born this day in 1955. Abraham Lincoln, one of my favorite people in all the world, 16th President of the United States. He was a Republican, 1861 through to 1865, dies from gunshot wounds, succumbs to his wounds on this day in 1865 at the age of 56. Elizabeth Montgomery, American actress. Samantha, Serena Bewitched, born Los Angeles, California, died in 1995. I didn't know she'd gone to God. Oh, she was born in 1933, which makes her about 10 years older than me, sort of. Madame Pompadour, French mistress of King Louis XV of France, dies of tuberculosis at just 52. You're standing up.
No, that's okay.
That's all right. Well, if the battery's dying, do tell me. Anyway, that was Madame Pompadour, 1764 on this day. She was young to die, 42. Donald Trump becomes the first former US president to stand trial on criminal charges as his hush money case begins in New York. That was in 1924. That's last year. Titanic sinks. 2:27 a.m. off Newfoundland as the band plays on with the loss of 1,490 people, 1,490 and 1,635. Apparently they're not actually sure how many people died. John Jacob Astor, American businessman, magnate, real estate developer, the Astoria Hotel, soldier, richest passenger on board the Titanic, dies aboard the Titanic at just 47, presumed drowned this day, 1912. Emma Thomas, British actress, born in London on this day in 1956. I like Emma. Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., 21 days after his divorce, weds Mary Richardson. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Oh yes, he's now the health czar in the Trump government. Jay Leno's final appearance as the permanent host of The Tonight Show, 1992. San Francisco's incorporated. Tokyo Disneyland opens. And Murray Rose, Australian Olympic gold-winning swimmer, dies from leukemia at 73 on this day in 2012. If you remember the day for any reason, I hope it's been a happy one, memorable, good. Now, I must tell you, we will not be broadcasting from around the dining room table on Friday morning at 9 o'clock this Friday, because it's Good Friday. So there'll be no broadcast, but there will be older programs that will be there in rotation. They're there every day, going back how long we've been producing the show. It must be a couple of years now. So there are plenty of programs there. So there's no program this coming Friday, Good Friday, and there's no program on the following Friday because that's Anzac Day. So we'll be back on the following Friday. That's going to be a very good day because that is going to be the 2nd of May, one day before the election. Now, I don't know what fun we can have with that. It's a last chance to thump the table, rattle the cage. We'll see. Life never ceases to be fascinating and interesting. Thank you very much for viewing the Court of Public Opinion here in the garage. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Thank you, Gary, for coming in. Peter Clayton, bless your heart. We'll see you next week with another posting on Facebook. Believe in yourself, and goodbye for now.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.